everyone, it's Kellen Brower from RacerX back again with another race examination video where we're going to start off with the 250 class here today, and specifically right off the get-go here in 250 Moto 1 where Justin Cooper has this weird little slide out at the bottom of Mount Martin while leading the race and gets up just inside of the top 10. But this is a weird crash to me because it doesn't really seem like anything wildly went wrong. He just kind of like slowly tucks the front end on entry, kind of maybe just a little bit offline in the rut. He gets a little sideways entering the corner and then just kind of like double wheel slide out, lays it over in front of Jet Lawrence, and then Lawrence gets hung up, which allows Hunter into the race lead. But yeah, just like not really a crash you normally see, like I guess the top riders have happen. Also peculiar that it happened to Jay Coop, who's really great on the opening laps of the race. So I just wanted to highlight it because it kind of took me back a little bit. But moving forward in this first 250 Moto, Hunter Lawrence had some better lines working than Jet Lawrence, and that was allowing him to close up and try to make a pass on his brother early in this moto. And I'm just highlighting this corner because a lot of things happened in this corner after the finish line jump throughout the day. And Hunter Lawrence, the lap before he ended up passing his brother, actually saw how wide his brother was going in that corner and kept utilizing that little inside line right there to just sneak up the inside, make a quick little move to pass into the race lead, and he would try to take off from there, but as we know, it would not hold on at that point because Jet would start reeling him back in late in the race, and with a couple laps to go, Hunter Lawrence is going to misread a few lapped riders through the Millville sand whoops here, go to the outside, and Lawrence is just going to react to that, go to the inside, kind of defend position, and then Hunter gets held up by the lappers on the outside who he followed into the corner. If we go back and watch this again, though, it's kind of interesting to me because Hunter Lawrence sees these guys going to the outside, and at this point, I mean, it's pretty obvious they're going to go to the outside, so why would he not then go to the inside? He just misreads the situation. I think maybe he thought they were going to get through that line a little bit faster. He'd been using that outside line to his advantage to try to get a better run through the second set of whoops, but I think Jet just totally saw what Hunter was going to have happen right here, and of course, Hunter's now getting actually held up through the corner. He can't go much faster than he already is, so Jet just comes in, kind of forces Hunter to be stuck behind them to this right side of the track, and Jet goes on to take the lead and eventually take the moto win. But it's just little mistakes like that that have been costing Hunter this year, and unfortunately now Jet has a big championship lead. On to the first start of 250 Moto number 2, because of course this was red flagged, not for this incident, for a different incident, but off the first start, big chaos here, and it all starts with Nate Thrasher getting kicked. His front end kind of goes over this jump a little bit sideways. He lands and gets shifted way to the right side of the bike and starts sliding out, so Joe Shimoda hits him. But then Styles Robertson behind him does like almost the exact same thing in the opposite direction to avoid it. He goes left. He takes out his teammate Jalik Swole. They both hit the ground really hard, and neither rider would actually get up and make the restart, so unfortunate for them. To be determined whether or not Robertson will race, but it sounds like Swole is in for Washougal, so that was a bit chaotic. But then Thrasher had even more bad luck after the restart in Moto 2 when he gets together with his teammate Nick Romano right here. And man, this is just a wild crash. Two different things happening at the same time, more or less, where Romano's just going over this little scrub single and then going back to the left side of the track. We kind of saw the same thing happen with Robertson and Hunter Lawrence at Southwick, but, you know, just kind of more or less following the racing lines, scrubs the same way most people had been all day. Even Thrasher kind of scrubs more or less the same direction, and then that's rear tire to front tire contact happening right there. Just spits the rear tire downward because it catches traction off the front tire behind it, throws Romano into a pretty violent crash as he hits the ground pretty hard, and Thrasher has nowhere to go because Romano's bike just takes off in front of him and then hooks a left off the next jump. And I mean, pretty remarkable that Thrasher was able to eject and land pretty, you know, casually there into the next section. But there's a back view that Tom Journet got of the crash as well. What is going on, though, at Spring Creek with guys and touching the tires into each other, causing some big crashes? This was even last year when Cooper Webb and Chase Sexton hit each other over the finish line jump, and then Webb got thrown for quite a loop. Maybe it's just something in the air of Spring Creek. You don't want to make contact with the rider next to you because it certainly threw those guys to the ground pretty darn hard. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by OnX Off-Road. Know where to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 500,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the OnX Off-Road app today. Moving on to the 450 class, we're going to start by talking about Chase Sexton's ridiculous pass on Eli Tomac down Mount Martin in 450 Moto 1 because I love the commitment that Sexton has off the top of the hill right here. If you guys have ever been to Millville and hiked up Mount Martin, you know how big of a drop-off that is from the top of the hill, and Sexton just grabs a handful off the top of the hill, gets to the inside, makes a nice pass on Tomac. But look at this. I mean, you're basically just jumping out of a building right here from the top of the hill, and Sexton just grabs a handful, scrubs it as hard as he can to the outside. He may not even land on the track based on how his trajectory is going off the top of that hill, but just the commitment level to push to the outside like this, get up alongside Tomac, and make the pass. I mean, Sexton has been remarkably fast this year, and I feel like some of the commitments that he was showing at Spring Creek showed how strong he has been, but unfortunately just a small mistake in this first moto would be his detriment from potentially having the red plate still going into Washougal, as he's going to tuck the front end from the race lead here in Moto 1 and go down. And this crash, I mean, yeah, he's getting maybe a little bit out of shape on entry, but it really just comes down to missing the inside rut by, I mean, a hair. Like just the knobby's just pushing out a little bit and then pushing through the rut right there, and then the rear tire comes down and tags him on the back. And man, he's been getting hit by the bike a little bit. He had a funny quote about it after the race as well.
That back tire just wants to come and tag me. I don't know what it has against me, but I just literally tipped over, and I just feel the bike. I'm like, uh-oh, it's coming, and I just tagged me right in the back.
Yeah. So poor Chase, man, he gets hit by the bike quite a bit when he crashes. But as we go back to the first 450 moto here, before that all happened with him and Tomac, I just wanted to highlight, again, this corner here after the finish line jump provided seemingly the most fireworks on the day. Joey Savacci is going to go down right out the end of the first lap here in 450 Moto 1, and this is just kind of a weird one of those situations where he has nothing to bank off of. He's trying to hold Sexton behind him, so he grabs a little bit of a handful, kind of the front end was already sliding, kind of rodeos the bike and then falls back down. But the weird thing about it is that Ken Roczen in the second moto had almost the same crash happen to him. It was a little bit later in the corner, but again, kind of like front tire misses the rut, it starts to slide out, the rear tire doesn't have anything to bank off of, and he just has a high side moment. It's actually a pretty rare crash to see Kenny get that wild, but just weird set of crashes that look very similar in the end for both Savacci and Roczen. But moving into 450 moto number 2, again, this corner after the finish line jump, Eli Tomac was full beast mode at the beginning of 450 moto number 2, and he is just pushing to the inside of Joey Savacci. He's going to sneak down this inside, and Savacci actually reads it pretty well, gets the power on. Tomac feet off the pegs, just coming flying into the next corner, goes around the outside right here. But crucially, Tomac makes a mental note of how he made that pass, and when he gets to Sexton for the race lead a few laps later, he's going to do this corner a little bit better. He's actually going to triple to this inside line, and it just looks like, again, he's almost banking off of nothing, pulls up alongside Sexton, pinches him to the edge by the mechanics area, and gets the pass done before the next corner. So I always feel like these guys don't get enough credit for that, where Tomac's like taking mental notes of where he made passes on other people as he goes throughout the moto, which is arguably why he's so good at passing people late in the race as well. But again, this is just reading that situation so well. Sexton goes to the outside, Tomac has got that inside line tripling to the inside dialed, doesn't really bank off of anything, but just controls the outside foot peg with the motorcycle getting the power to the ground, and a nice pass to get around Sexton for the lead, which he would eventually go on and win the moto. Sexton gave him all he could handle, and those two were going absolutely at it in the second 450 moto, but Tomac, you can see he was elated with that victory, got pushed to his limit, but now after 7 straight moto wins in a row, he has himself the red plate moving into the final rounds of the final 5 rounds of the season, I should say. And man, it really does seem like it's going to be him and Sexton fighting it out every weekend from here on out.